All right, we already draw and we already achieve a lot. You might wondering why I leave this area as well as this area blank because it's a little bit complicated than that. And you might think, well, if there is like the division line here, and when you draw the core shadow should be like the darkest fundamental shadow while this object casts, right? So for example, if there is shadow, that's like the darkest parts of that shadow. But why I'm leaving it here and leaving everything else like not draw, that's because, as I said, you go here, go to the table and got reflective light. There'll be bouncing light, so you'll be reflective light. And reflective light, it's not so strong as the like direct light hit here, but it will exist. Okay, so that's exactly the reason why I add a little bit here. Okay, reflective light, so you can't draw the total darkness here. Okay, so how to do that? If you just use, because I already used okay, I already use this to sort of smudge it a little bit. If you just draw directly, it will get like darker than this. So as you can see, if I just draw a tiny little bit, it will go darker than this. So how to do that? There is a way of doing it. You can just brush, or you can just gently do something like this without every line need to overlap. Okay, you just gently do that, and then use the help of this. Okay, just using this to sort of using what you already used as a smudge tool, and then there will be a darkness remains. You have to test a little bit, because if you do that too forcefully, this may be even darker than the original remains. So just to ease it in. So if I got this like charcoal, like a tiny grainy little bit charcoal, you want to make it sort of blend it out. Okay, so that way what's remain down below will become better. Okay, and let's just point this out, right? All this will be reflected light. The reflector is coming from here, right? So you got here and go here. So you know what? Value change. So if it's 8 and 9 of Callan shadow, core shadow will be 5, 6 maybe, or maybe 7. This reflective light will like turn it down a little bit. So it will be like a 4, 5, 6. So just turn it down. Okay? And then let me continue to make it more better. Yeah, that's better. Okay, and I bring out eraser to get the edges. So yeah, the order of things do matter. You don't need to worry too much while you use this to like blend it out, because for the hard edges you can use eraser to draw as well. So basically use this to draw, right? You can change that into any kind of a shape, and then you just get the edges out. Remember, we not necessarily we want like every edges to be like really sharply cut, because we're going to talk about how to blend it in, how to vanish the edges. But right now, just bear with me, right? So for example, here, I think this line, while I just draw, is a little bit too much. So I intend to make this line disappear, okay? And yeah, I think that's already enough for the reflective light. It's kind of lighter than this core shadow. Of course, if you think core shadow is not too much, you can add a tiny little bit. You don't need to like add that line by line. You can just leave a little bit of space in between. Okay, leave a little bit of space, as if you doing this, like you doing the makeup, right? You got all this like coloring material, and then you just blend it out, right? Just using that to blend it out, to sort of add a little bit more charcoal to here, so you can sort of add a little bit dark color to here. But this is just there are tons of ways of doing that, not necessarily just one way. But I'm just showing you can do this without like doing just one, like continuous stroke. You can just get away with this continuous stroke and use the blending. Okay, so once we got the core shadow, we got cast shadow, we got reflective light. Okay, we draw that with pretty flowy gesture drawing. This is not a gesture, but it's still is gesture, because you need to like make everything flow, not just to like drawing the person's gesture. This, even though it's still pretty, boring shape, still you can use the help of gesture, right?